want to share a little bit about the buying process, and I want to hear how your guys' Thanksgiving went. Lance, you got a little new fashion design going on there.
This
What's
is
up?
left over from Halloween, but I'll talk about it. Let's hear about your week first.
Thanksgiving was fantastic. We had an absolutely full house. The guys went fishing the next day, caught some trout, but then went fishing Thanksgiving night and got some too. Uh, there was a disaster on Saturday, much like the Hindenburg. That is about all I'm going to say to that. Although I'm a little jazzed because that team will play against UT, and UT is my second favorite team. Being in Tennessee, I know, Lance, that you kind of got them a little bit above the other team, but I like some good trash talk.
Yeah, it'll be a fun week. I might have to have you sew the jersey for me.
Yeah, I might need a sedative watching it because I was.
So of course we're referencing Ohio State.
Yeah, this last one got to me.
I was gonna break in here. I was thinking about you guys. I know you're fans but on Saturday I almost typed out an email to you and just to let you know I was thinking about you.
I got numerous military adjective acronyms sent to me. I also got numerous condolences. Then discussion ensued about what should happen to people involved. I will say that I always say I love my tea and home. On a separate note, Winchester, Tennessee, on Friday night, actually all day Friday, but we went down Friday night, had their tree lighting. And I haven't been able to go to a tree lighting. It was like a freaking Hallmark movie. It was just, they did such a good job. Props to the Winchester Chamber of Commerce. They had little baby Highland cows. The theater, which is like the old Marquee Theater, did free movies of Christmas movies twice during the day. The shops were all open. They had a carousel. Santa was there. They had like a little beauty pageant for a couple different age groups. Of course, Tennessee, even though it's not Nashville, it's still music. Great live performances. That was wonderful on Friday night. So
yeah, that sounds like fun. I took a quick trip back to Dallas. It's kind of odd. I moved from Dallas to the Nashville area only so that in 3 months I could go back to Dallas to enjoy Thanksgiving. Why I did that, no, in all honesty, I talked about this before. It's tradition, and I didn't get a chance to do the turkey trot. It was too early in the morning. My sister did run it with my nephew in Charlotte, so that was good. And then enjoyed the Cowboys game and had a great turkey dinner that was part of the celebration. The Cowboys, I will give them credit. The amount of cooking and the food that they do at the stadium is unbelievable. It is how many full-on turkey dinner and all of the stuff that goes along with it. Just anyone watching it, if you ever have an opportunity, regardless of whether you like the Cowboys or not, it's a great environment to be in, and it's a lot of fun. And then I quickly turned around and drove back, stopped by some rental properties and made sure that I turned off the sprinkler systems.
Right. There you go.
Yeah.
Were you at the stadium for the game and I didn't realize that. How fun is that? All right, great.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a lot of fun, an extra ticket from some friends, that usually happens. Doesn't happen every single year, but it did this year. So nice. It was a lot of fun. Had a great time.
Nice. That's great. All right. So Lance, tell us about yourself.
I'm not going to hijack our conversation with this, but long short, I had it's called a retinal detachment a couple of weeks ago. Public service announcement here. If you're sitting in your office talking with some people, this actually happened the day after we last spoke. If you're sitting with people and all of a sudden you lose the sight in one of your eyes and it doesn't feel like that should be happening, you probably should go straight to the hospital. I knew that because it happened to this eye a couple of years ago. Long short, I left out and did not have a stroke, had a retinal detachment. I had multiple laser surgeries, and then last Monday, very invasive, what it's called, scleral. saying it wrong, serial band, basically a big rubber band around my eye to keep it from blowing out. And in doing that, they scratched my cornea, which is one of the most difficult things I've ever gone through. And anyway, it's Wednesday, the week after that, and I'm here. I wanted to show this, kind of the state of the markets, so to speak.
Yeah.
I was going to share the screen real quick, and then I'll jump away. But this particular screen right here, where is it? Not the way I want to show you. I was going to show you my scleral. That's the buckle I had around my eye. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right, anyway, here's what I want to talk about. These are mortgage rates. And this is looking back from 2020 on the far left here, as we climb up through 21, 22, get to 23, 24. Peaked out probably about right here, 8.03 in October of last year. We wrote it down. April this year, and this drop, everything was going down. We got September 16th, Fed lowered interest rates, and look what happened. Things went straight up. So where we're at today is almost at 7.01 is the average. The trend still continues to be up. There was a little bit of a down flux here, but it's still on an upward trend. And we may see that for a while. So that's kind of what's going on with your averages and mortgage rates.
So not exciting that they said that they may lower interest rates now in about 10 days, right?
Let's see if the mortgage-backed security markets really believe it's here to stay. If we do, Jennifer, you're going to be busy. In fact, let's talk about that. You are busy. It has been.
Well, actually, I was going to have Mark talk about something first, and then I'll share what went on. What'd you see in your world this week, Mark?
Well, from my world, I actually got a testimonial from a client, a video testimonial. It's on my website, aspirecoaching.com. So the client had paid off $13,000 in roughly 6 months working together. So that happened. That was fantastic. I woke up to that testimonial and didn't expect it. Great question, though, Jennifer, because what I'm seeing in my business is people have had enough. They've had enough. They're looking for, the Fed's released just a little while ago, a couple of weeks back, that there is $17.94 trillion worth of debt in the United States. And what I'm seeing in my business is they're tired of trying, and they've had enough. They want to do something different, and I'm starting to hear that. I'm starting to see that they're taking control of their finances, and it's an aggressive, energetic move towards taking control of their finances, and I think that's fantastic when you have that motivation to change.
When you said they've had enough, I was going to ask, have they had enough of the pause that we've been going in? But it sounds like they have had enough of just treading water.
Bingo.
And they're like, okay, I am now ready to raise my hand and go, hey, Mark the lifeguard, can you throw me something over here?
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what's going on. When I say they've had enough, it's like the results that they're getting are not quick enough. They're not better, and so they're reaching out and wanting ways to get quicker results. So that's largely what I'm seeing in my business right now.
So I heard that Black Friday through, now it's grouped as a whole weekend, Black Friday through Cyber Monday, and all the Cyber Monday numbers weren't in yet, was some of the strongest spending that we've had in a while. Is that something, we obviously talk about houses, but is that living the lifestyle that people want to be able to, at different points, gift people or treat themselves to things? That's something you help with people with as well, right? And have you had discussions with people going, oh my gosh, we're really on this, but we're doing shopping or whatever?
Yeah. So one of the things that we focus on is planning ahead. We really try to look 3 months, 6 months down the road. So we're in December right now. people should start looking at how are we going to fund the summer activities of 2025.
Yeah.
What is our savings strategy in order to offset those costs? Releasing a $17.94 trillion debt, number. I'm hoping that the majority of sales that were conducted were planned sales, and not unplanned purchases. Of course, we're going to have that, and changing behavior and changing habits doesn't happen overnight. We didn't wander into $20 or $40 or $60,000 worth of debt overnight. We're not going to wander ourselves out of it in 2 months.
Right. It's not an oopsie. It's funny that you say planning for the summer, because we've literally, people I've been around have been discussing summer vacation. And then my daughter was talking to me yesterday, like, hey, maybe you can take my granddaughter longer this summer because childcare expense is stupid. So this is what's been going on in my world. Let me see here. The blues are listings. Let's see how I can get this up here. And the creams are buyers. This is all last week. This is all new activity from last week. So I've got the 3 listings now, and then I've got another one that I'm getting ready to put back up on the market, and then a townhome that's getting ready to go live. But these are 4 more, and these are all going to list pretty much January. One may list in March, April, and then 2 of them are selling and buying. A couple of the yellows are just first-time buyers, or they sold a house. Sometimes, I know we're going to talk about this on a different episode, but sometimes your situation is such, either divorce or debt or what have you, that you're going to sell a home to do something else with those assets and to like breathe and pause. But I know we're going to talk about that on a different episode. Speaking of episodes, before we get into today's meat of the subject, today's steps of buying a home, just a very cursory overview. Much of it can be used nationally, but obviously I'm speaking to Tennessee. And then next week, Lance, you get to talk about like the preliminary process of getting a loan and what lenders are looking at. And then Mark's going to talk to us about budgeting. If Lance is like, hey, I can't approve you right now, what do Lance and Mark combine to do to get you to that yes? So those are some of the upcoming episodes. But do you guys want me to share the screen now about the steps to home buying?
Sure.
Let me see here. We'll see how techie I can be today. Share screen. Hopefully I don't go crazy. Windows. This one. All right. Is that visible or not? I can't.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to flip it over to slideshow mode. So a lot of y'all know, if you caught last month, that I come from a long line of teachers and military, but I also have a good bit of ADD. And so I have presentations for my buyers and my sellers that I've done for years, really to help them through the process. When I got into real estate, I asked people, when you have bought or sold a home in the past, what did an agent do well and what did an agent not do that you wanted? And the thing I heard a ton on the buy side was there's surprises. I don't want surprises. Now, there's always going to be some, but I found that this kind of helps answer a lot of the surprises. So quickly about Benchmark. Benchmark only hires the best agents. You have to have closed a certain number of transactions to even go there, unless you have a mentor who agrees to take you on. I do have my broker's license. I'm not a managing broker, but I do mentor occasionally. Since Benchmark started in 2008, the agents there have closed $36 billion in transactions just in the Middle Tennessee area. There are over 1,600 Benchmark agents in Middle Tennessee, which is a really great network. You'll see why in a minute, to help me help my clients find houses. So in real estate, there's huge upheaval, lots of lawsuits. I'm sure you've heard of some of it on the news, but there are 3 agreements in real estate now. One is a listing agreement. That's a contract between the seller of a home and the agent who's going to be listing it and selling it for them. The other is an agreement between the buyer and the buyer's agent who's going to be helping them find a home. And then the third is the agreement between the buyer and the seller. And the listing agent and the buyer's agent help craft that in a manner that the buyer and the seller are asking it to be done, and work the counters back and forth, and then help oversee their clients, making sure that they're abiding by the agreement on deadlines and getting to close. So how do you find a home? The average agent is going to set up a showing search. Yeah, I do that. Top 5% of agents will set up a showing search, also look for sale by owners, expireds, and off markets. In 10 years, I've probably done half dozen or so for sale by owners for my clients, where I represented the buyer and the seller was unrepresented. I've also knocked on doors, as Lance said last week, or written letters, and found about another half dozen more homes that were not listed in any fashion, and been able to work with that homeowner to sell it to my buyer on a timeline that worked for everybody. The other things that I do beyond those two is we at Benchmark can market and talk amongst ourselves. Hey, I have a buyer who's looking for this, this, and this. Do you have anything that's an off-market listing that's a Benchmark agent's exclusive? Then the reverse prospecting is how I find a lot of those off-market, beyond just looking at RealTracs, which is our MLS, to see what's gone off-market and never sold. Maybe they want to sell. I do social media posts, like, I have a buyer who's looking for this. We'll put it up on the iHeart Spring Hill or Columbia or Get to Know Winchester pages, the HIP Murfreesboro, who has something that they might want to be selling. And then I network a lot with other agents and with other business professionals who just know people who sometimes they know other agents that I don't know, that may have somebody who's like, I'm ready to sell, but I'm not quite, and we can make a deal before something goes on the market. Because of all those things, I have a really good reputation, not just with my clients, but with other agents. And this is really beneficial when you're trying to get your house under contract, that I have a good rapport and reputation with other agents, because that means they want to do business with my clients as well as me, because they know it's going to be efficiently done. We're going to do what we say. We're going to try and listen to your side, get something that works for everybody, and that we're going to get to close. My duty as an agent is to bring a ready, willing, and able buyer to the table for the seller. I'm not going to go running around showing houses to anybody until I have a pre-approval. Different from a pre-qualification. That's about as good as a bubblegum wrapper, right, Lance?
Right.
I need the lender who's giving me that pre-approval to have seen the documents of their income, to have looked at their credit, to have analyzed what they're able to purchase. And in Tennessee, you have to say in the purchase agreement what kind of loan you're doing and what percent of it you're financing, how much you're putting down essentially. And I need to know from the lender, how soon can they close that type of loan? So you have to talk to a lender before I'm going to work with you. We can meet, we can talk, we can get ready. But as far as going out and seeing things, no, you're going to have to talk to somebody first. So in the decade that I've been doing real estate, and I did this a month or so ago, I've had 96 buyers I've closed and 77 listings I've sold. In 24 so far to date, I've had 11 sales and 5 listings. That is super low for me. Usually I'm 20 to 30 transactions. 32 of my clients, not my transaction size, but my clients have been military, either current or past. And 34 of my transactions over those 10 years have been first-time buyers. The numbers on the other side, the list to sale, that's a number I'm super proud of too, because I'm going to use history major math again. If a house is listed at 100,000, the 2014 number, 98%, means I was able to get that under contract for 98,420 for my buyer. As you would hope, predominantly I'm running under list price for my buyers and maybe getting concessions on top of that. Now, if you look at 20 and 21, what was going on in that year, guys?
Over asking, cash only.
Way over asking, cash, waiving inspection, appraisal gap waivers, all those things. But at the end of 20, when you added up all my list price and all my closed price, I still was only at 99.78% list to sale. The highest over that any of my clients went was 104.62. And in 2021, I was marginally over what 100, I was half a point over on what list price was. And the highest somebody went over was 6%. And I bet if you think back, you knew multiple people who were going 10, 20% over ask. And that wasn't what I was doing. I was able to efficiently get my clients into homes. And those military buyers, VA loans, people weren't getting them through. I had VA buyers closing both those years. And in a couple cases, they won out against cash buyers because of the strength of my rapport I was able to develop or previously had with the list agent to assure them that we would close like a cash and they weren't going to run into problems.
Yep.
So when someone's looking to buy a home, I have a needs and wants analysis, and we have to put a game plan together. And I always say we work as a team. So what amount of money can you spend? Lance is going to give you a pre-approval amount. And maybe he says that you can buy up to $400,000, but you want a mortgage that reflects maybe $350,000. Well, we're going to aim for $350,000, but we need to know if there's an ideal house or a lot of things going on that we can go up to $400,000. And in what scenarios. We need to know when you're wanting to close so we know when we want to look. If you are leasing and Mark's been working with you to be able to buy a home, your lease is up in 6 months, you better be getting with us hard then so that you don't have to renew or have that increased rent rate when you go month to month.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, what I would say is, that lease time is you're buying time. But at some point, that really becomes a point of I don't have a lot of time to start this process. I need to start now,
right?
Or you are going to have that lease renewal,
right? And next week and the week after, when we talk about the processes, there are things that people just assume they should do when they're getting ready to buy a house, and they're maybe not the best thing to do. And I'm not going to go beyond this sentence, but like sometimes they want to close all their credit cards, and that's not always a good thing to do. In fact, it's often not a good thing. So then we're going to analyze what is a nice to have. Those are the wants. I'd love to have an island. I'd love to have granite countertops, whatever it is, a pool, whatever it is that 5 acres in the country you think you want to have. But then you have needs, I need to have this much square foot. I always jokingly say, what's the smallest square foot that you think you could live in without killing another member of your household? Because we don't want to do that. But it's a joke, and then why do you want to do this? I need to know how motivated you are and what's driving you so that we can continue to focus on what the objective is here. Then we have to understand home pricing too. There's different pricing in our market. We have aspirational pricing, and that's when a seller prices their home really over what we think we could get for it because they want to leave room for negotiations. That is not, in my opinion, a very good way to list a home. But sometimes the sellers have to find out on their own, okay? Especially in a soft market that we have right now. Now, during COVID, there were certain situations that we did that, and we can go into that on a different scenario. Then we have market value pricing. This is really based on what's been closing, what we can probably get the house under contract for. Other homes like this one have sold for this amount. We expect to get an offer really close to what we've listed it. And then event pricing, and this can be a really smart thing to do in our market that we have right now. You price it below what we think we could get, maybe at 95 to 98% of what we think we can close on it, so that it gets a lot of attention and you can get maybe multiple offers, and you can determine from those, in addition to price, what has the best components for you. Is it timing to close when you want it to, either fast or slow? Is it allowing you to rent a place back? Is it a not asking for a lot of concessions, whatever it is that you may want as the seller. But we need to know that as the buyer, we're looking at that, and I'm going to call the agent up and say, hey, you've got this priced really well. Are you entertaining a lot of offers already? What is your seller looking for that we can potentially give them in addition to price? So then really quick through the process, you identify your home. We've got your goals. We've got a strategy. You've got your funding source. We look for homes. We decide the home we want. We talk to the other side agent. What do they need to make this happen? We get a contract. Then we do our due diligence. We conduct a professional inspection. In Tennessee, a homeowner is allowed to do their own inspection, but dad, who's a builder for 80 years, can't. You can hire a professional inspector, or you, a homeowner, can do it themselves. Then we have an appraisal, a third party, non-interested on the buyer side or on the lender side, evaluates the value based on what's happening in the market and what similar has recently closed. Then we negotiate based on findings. If the inspection says, hey, there's 3 GFIs that are popped, maybe we ask to have those done, or maybe we're like, hey, we don't need that, but the weather stripping around the door is done. Or maybe we've gone under contract saying we're not going to ask for a lot of small things, but if we find a leak, we're going to ask you to fix that. Then we get your plans together to move, do the final walkthrough, usually at 5 o'clock the day or in the evening, the day before closing. Closing happens. We want to close. I generally close on Wednesdays and have all parties close by 11 a.m. so that you can get your keys hopefully that day. You don't get your keys as a buyer until the title has been recorded at the courthouse and the money from your loan or cash has reached the seller's side. Most counties in Tennessee do a digital recording. There are some. Hickman County, the last I did one over there, they did not do a digital recording. So you can't get your keys and unload your moving truck or go in and clean or whatever it is you're going to do until after those events have happened. And there's a higher likelihood of you getting your keys if everyone closes by 11. Then we go through the different points of negotiation. Negotiation takes place at different points. When you're first offering, obviously you're negotiating. After the inspection, I just said we can negotiate potential repairs. And if the appraisal comes in lower than the contracted price, what are we going to do? Is the seller going to drop it down to the appraised price? Does the buyer have the wherewithal to bring the additional cash to close? Or are we going to terminate because we can't come to terms on that? And hopefully that's not the case. And also sometimes appraisal on a government-backed loan, VA, FHA, or USDA, will say, hey, there's three stairs here and we need a handrail or something else like that. So we have conditional appraisals. My business has always been built on referrals, so I try very hard to listen to what people expect from a realtor and expect from me. I always want to know what people's expectations are for me. And when you work with me, you get a professional realtor with a positive reputation. I'm your ally on negotiations. It's my fiduciary duty to work for you. And you get the knowledge of an active, top producing agent and broker. And I do both listings and sales. I'm going to quit sharing here for a second. I do both listings and sales, which I think is really important on the buy side. I think it's stopping sharing.
It did.
Did it? Okay. So I think it's really important for agents who are working with buyers to work with sellers as well. And almost more important that listing agents work with buyers, because I'm out there hearing what buyers want, what is becoming obsolete. I will tell you a couple of things that drive buyers crazy in case you're looking to do renovations. If you've got wood floor and you have another room that you're putting new flooring in, maybe there was carpet there, you better match that wood or go to a stone look tile. Don't have two different kinds of wood look, whether they're tile or laminate or LV or wood next to each other. Drives them insane. The other thing that's become obsolescent, when I moved down to Tennessee, our primary bedroom was on the second floor. And in the price point that we were looking in, that was very common. It is more common now in the higher price points, especially, to have a primary suite on the main level or zoned across the house and especially in the higher end price points, to have 2 en suites, so that a parent can come in and live, a guest can have easy access to their own bathroom, or an adult child who is working with Mark or someone else, preparing themselves, college or whatever, to buy a home has that. So I know that was super fast and all that, but what do you guys think about what I shared? And are there things that either from working with me, Lance, or from working with your clients, Mark, that I need to add to it for today's video? Because obviously we can go deep in the.
But to answer your question, that's what's so key about you is this. You don't miss that. You're like, we are going to do this buyer's orientation. You're not missing it out on it. I'm doing it. I'm going to explain the things that other people don't want to talk about. And therefore, that's why you have that follow-on. That's why you can have those stats like you just told us. This is how many people I talk to. This is how many people I close. This is how I can be a 95-point-something% sale for your buyers. That's unheard of, especially in 2021. And it was fun because I was working with her then, and she realized those things. She's like, hey, wait a second. I'm getting 95%. I mean, when most people were overpaying, she was still getting below sales price. And so it showed how serious she was. And I think the sellers really pick up on that is Jennifer, your rapport, your relationship building. And that's why you're a long haul realtor. So it's like long haul COVID, you're a long haul realtor.
Well, and that actually brings up something else that I speak to at the end of my presentation with my buyers is the big gorilla in the room since August. It used to be that when you listed a home, everybody said the seller pays. And I always said, okay, well, the seller's paying the buyer's agent compensation. Where in the seller's house are they reaching into the walls to pull out the $6,000 to $10,000 or whatever $1,000 to pay the buyer's agent? Because I think some of Mark's clients might want to know where that hidey hole of cash is, because I'd tap into it to pay off some debt or go on a vacation or something if I could just reach into my walls. I've always said on the net sheet, it's on the seller's side, but nobody gets any money. You can't liquidate a piece of wood or brick until the buyer's cash or loan gets to the seller. But that being said, we're doing what most other English-speaking nations do in America. We're now doing in America. And that is the buyers are responsible for negotiating with their agent what the agent is getting paid. So whatever percent that is, based on the amount of work that I think I'm going to be doing to get you into a home, if I'm running all over the countryside, that sort of thing, I base a buyer's representation agreement with you on that. Part of my representing you is to know if you have the additional cash resources to pay for my professional services on your own, or do I need to negotiate that with the buyer or with the seller rather? And that's something I've done for years with for sale by owners, because the for sale by owner wasn't necessarily prepared and thinking about offering a buyer's agency compensation. But when I say to them, hey, we've got this person here, we can do this. And there's different ways to do it. The seller can pay, the buyer can pay themselves. It can be a split situation. Now, if the buyer's paying themselves, maybe they have the resources saved up. Or maybe I'm listing their home, and so we're going to take a certain amount that we're going to pay at closing on the purchase, but the rest is going to come from money that they get when they sell their home. So I'm getting a little more of a compensation on that side. There's so many ways to do it, and it makes it very flexible. I love it, but then I'm pretty good at like ADD. I can, okay, hey, or if they offer this, we're going to do this. If this, there's multiple ways to get to the end of the path in the forest.
So one of the things that I've noticed about you, Jennifer, and that I really, really like is you don't gloss over the details.
Yeah, no, not so much.
Gloss over, you don't. I don't know if details is the right word, but you don't gloss over the topics, and that's really important from my business point of view as well, because the buyer and the seller, they're going through all of the decision making processes of whether or not this is right, whether or not that's right, and having preparation. I think the word preparation really comes to my mind throughout all of this. And preparation to me is all of those little things, all of those little details where you can capture some cash back for yourself, for your agent, and or whether it's on the buyer side or the seller side. There's also some things like, you mentioned in your presentation, moving. What's the cost of moving? Yeah. And
I know a guy.
Yeah, exactly. And some of those things, let's think outside the box. Some of those items in your home are heavy. They may be antique, worthy of real serious protection. You're not hiring two guys down the street to say, hey, come in and start and just move my stuff. You might have an expense of thousands of dollars to in just moving. That's not designed to scare anyone. That's designed to say, what's your plan? How are we planning in order to save up the money just for something like that? And my job is to help you realize, help guide you in thinking about not forgetting these things.
Right. Well, and it's funny because the presentation I did today, it's about a fifth as long as the one that I normally do on a buyer's orientation. Now, I will go through it fast or slow depending on if they're a first-time buyer or if they've worked with me before or what changes we've had in the market. And then, when I go to list a house, you talk about planning. The first thing I ask somebody is, why are you moving? The second thing I ask them is, where are you going? Because I'm going to get your house sold.
Right.
And I don't want you to be homeless, and unless that's your intention to go RVing.
Yeah, exactly. And not only we're here where we're at, where are we going to go? How are we going to get there? Because in between where you're at right now and where you want to go is a whole lot of obstacles that need to be navigated. And so I love the detail and not glossing over the specifics. I love pull back the covers. Hey guys, this is one of the biggest purchases you're going to make in your life. Mm-hmm. We're not out apartment shopping.
No. And it's funny too, because when you say, and we're going to actually, I think it's in about 4 or 5 weeks, this is something we're going to talk about. You talk about planning and getting to where you want all the time. And I'm going to just say, most of the time it's younger girls, like 35 and under, but sometimes older. They want a certain kind of house. They want certain kinds of finishes. Mm-hmm. Like I tell it to my daughters, this is your first home. The home that I'm living in that you're comparing it to, I'm 4 houses and a long professional career down the road to get there.
Yeah.
You don't walk out of college and generally buy that on your own unless you've got some help along the way. And that's something else we'll talk about is how you help your kids in the future. If that's a goal for you, how you set them up for success with home buying. But those are all topics we're going to talk about. That's why we want you guys who are watching this to keep revisiting. We're going to go through a set number of topics. We want you, please, to send us questions you have. DM us, call us, text us, email us, whatever it is, smoke signal, to get those questions to us. But we're going to go through these on loop so that you can see, and other people along the way who maybe in a year from now or where you are today can catch it and pick up with it too.
Well, awesome. Let's pick it up next week. I'm going to be working on the steps of buying a home, the first couple, from a mortgage perspective. And we enjoyed having everyone's point of view today.
Yep. I'll do a little short recording of the slide deck and share that too.
Very good.
And Cousin Eddie.
Yeah, hold on just a second. I gotta.
Lance, where's your Halloween costume? Even though we're in December.
Yeah, I'm in spirit of there you go. Here, I'm gonna have to kind of do a little, arg matey.
Does that mean I get to say bleepity bleep is full?